Welcome everybody to episode 10 of You Can't Comp This podcast. This week we are very kindly joined by Laine Pearce of 130point.com and also PSA Submissions Australia. This is part 2 of our interview with Laine, and we are going to get right back into it where we're talking about cardboard destruction.
That's right. I remember one of Australia's own causing an uproar when he torched his Montrezl Harrell sneaker spotlight auto and posted it.
Oh, no. Who was that?
It was Shane Panther. That was hilarious for a lot of us. Like some of us, I was cringing because he was destroying a card, but then again, like he was ropeable.
It's like because he jumped ships from Clippers to Lakers.
Yeah. When he literally just ran, and he was just so annoyed. I could see why, because at the time, Shane had actually been helping us out here a bit, and I'd seen him a few days earlier, and we were talking, and then I saw that video, and I'm just like, I know how angry he is, so I can understand why he's done it. Yeah,
I'd completely forgotten that.
yeah.
So earlier on in the piece, you were talking about you built the site around checklists. Are you a set builder? Is that what you like to do when you do your PC?
I used to. That was when I first, as a kid, I've still got folders at home that I'll eventually bring here that are full of, the old Upper Deck series from 92, 93, 93, 94. Got the whole lot sitting there.
I love doing set chases too, man. So
that was when I got back in. That was what I did. I did Prism. I got still got it in the thing, whole Prism base set of everything, including inserts, the whole lot. Since then, I've kind of moved away from it because I realized how impossible it would be even just every year to try and do that, and how much time it takes to compile it. But honestly, I've got that much Prism because every year from basically 16, 17 onwards, I've opened a case of Prism or more.
Oh, wow.
Because that was all I used to focus on. I used to go in breaks, and then boxes, I'd pretty much buy Prism. That was it. I'd save up for it, and I could get a case of Prism for $2,000. Though, let's be honest.
Yeah,
you could save.
I was going to say it's a bit different these days. Did
you do a case this year, mate?
No way. No, I did a few boxes, but the price, even back, $1,000, $1,200 a box roughly when I could buy them, was too much. I did a few first off the line though. That was kind of what I just decided I grabbed them. I think towards the bottom when they were selling, it was about $1,200 or something, and I was able to bust them.
Yeah.
But that was kind of did my dash on Prism for the year because of it.
What did you get out of the photo boxes? Did you get anything else?
I got completely annihilated in most cases. First box I opened, I was so excited because I got to a gold. It had a teal rookie symbol, but because I'd seen enough breaks and things by then, I knew that the LaMelo background was not a black background. It had this crowd because it was the court action shot thing.
Yeah.
And I could see it had a black background on it. I knew straight away it wasn't LaMelo, and it turned out to be Vernon Carey Jr.
I was going to say, was it Grant Riller? That's like...
Actually, I can't remember. No, I think it was Vernon Carey, and he has haunted me ever since then.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's appeared. I think I got a rookie roll call gold of his appear in one of mine in a box I bought as well when I bought one box of certified. I don't know, he's just appeared everywhere for me. He's one of those guys. But you know what? I've had my own luck. I get my fair share of luck when it comes to breaks, so I can't complain. But I just like Prism. I can't complain. I'm one of those guys. People think it's crazy, but that's something I did years ago, and the prices now are ridiculous, and I still like to open it. But but the only other set that I've really, set built since then was 16, 17 preferred. I was lucky enough in a break. I had the Blazers and the Pacers, I think it was back then, and a quad patch of Shaq, Kobe, Clyde Drexler, and Grant Hill came out, and I got it in the random, and I straight away went, I love this set. I want to get all of them. And when I checked the checklist, it was actually only 10 in the patch version. So I ended up getting all 10 patches from that year, with some good patches in there. There's some weird ones. Some guys you kind of look at now and go, not sure why they're on there. But that was really good. There was 10 of them, or 8 or 10, I can't remember, and I've got them. And it turns out that the Porzingis patches on all of them are actually like the New York logo. So they're actually a full-on patch from the shorts or the jersey or something. And it's just really, proper logo patch. So I've managed to pick up 4 of them so far, 4 of the 10, because they're all numbered to 10. And I missed one on eBay. I did see it too late. It popped up. I just did a search one day for sold items just to check something, and I saw one had sold, and I'm like, oh, how did I miss that? But yeah, they're a good set. Really like the preferred patch stuff. Always been a fan of it. Have a bunch of them in the PC from different guys. A few nice ones. Like I managed to pick up one a few years back. It was KD and LeBron versus to 25. I think those ones are.
Perfect.
Yeah, Preferred's one of the releases that most people hated, but I'm really sad it's gone because I just love the patch cards and the booklets and things that came out of it. So yeah. Anyway, it's pretty much gone now. You can't even buy it. Most places it's sold out everywhere, and it's all been ripped open. So yeah. But anyway,
what are you chasing at the moment?
I don't know. At the moment, it's a bit hard because it's so expensive with a lot of things. I do still like a lot of my basketball, but I've moved on to other things as well. I'm a big Formula One fan, so I have a few Formula One cards now in the collection, which is good, and soccer as well. I love soccer come World Cup time. I get really into it. Sort of follow it. Don't follow it as much in between, but I do still follow it a little bit. But then coming up to the World Cup, so I do really get into it and start, keeping an eye out on who's playing well and who's going to be in what team and national teams and what team's going to most likely be making a deep run in the World Cup. We hope. So, I do like sort of following that a bit, and I have opened a bit of some of the Topps products this year. Topps Chrome Soccer is, it's nice to have some of those products floating around, even though it's full of base cards that are not going to be worth much in the years to come. But yeah,
Do you think it's good to prospect into those sports at the moment in terms of like buying boxes and cases and?
It can be. I do it more for the fun, to be honest. Just being able to open boxes at semi-reasonable prices.
So you're not holding them, you're ripping them?
I've got some that I'm holding. Some more is holding for the business side of things. But then on the hobby side, when I do decide to open a box or two, it's more, it's for the fun to try and get a decent card that I can maybe add to the collection. I was lucky enough to hit a Ronaldo auto in the last few months, which I've never had one before. I've got nowhere near a Messi yet, but I did manage to find a Ronaldo auto. It's the second one I've ever hit. I managed to hit one back in, was it 16, 17 Donruss, when the first Donruss soccer release, I think it was. I hit a dual auto of him and Gareth Bale. Grayson wasn't impressed because it was the first box out of a fresh case that he just opened. I grabbed.
Oh, no.
I think it was $100 at the time, and I took it away. And about half an hour later, I came back and said, "Guess what I hit?" And he's like, "You didn't, did you?" I think it was numbered to 50 at the time, and so that was sort of one of those things that soccer opened. 16, 17, was it 16? 2016? Okay, no, 2014. I think I just missed the 2014 World Cup Prism. So I opened the Select Euro Prism that came after that. I opened 2018 World Cup Prism, a few boxes of that. I've opened a stack of 2016, 17 Select Soccer. So, over the years, I've always sort of been involved in it, just here and there, because soccer's just another sort of thing that, I follow a bit. But
is there a big market for soccer cards? Is it something we can see growing with this sports card explosion?
It already has. So last year it was the largest growing market, particularly even in Australian eBay sales. It grew phenomenally, but that was because it was coming from almost nowhere. It was very low down.
It was 1,000x, I think, man.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. The percent growth increase on eBay was just insane when they did their end of year numbers for sports cards. So,
but then I suppose this year to next, it'll be
it's going to boom again.
You'll see what the true growth is.
It's already started, to be honest. There's a lot of guys, a lot of really good rookies that are floating around in some of these products from the last few years that are already seeing a lot of, whether it might be speculation, it might be people collecting them for PC. And we saw it last World Cup. I guess the original sort of explosion for a player was Kylian Mbappe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that exactly right. The French guy.
We won't judge you on pronunciation.
I'm terrible. The European soccer guy names I'm usually horrendous at. But anyway, he exploded at last World Cup. So his cards, his Prism World Cup soccer cards, which I happen to have one of, luckily a silver. A base. I got a base World Cup Prism card graded of his PSA 10 and sold it for about $3,000 US. That was only a couple of years ago. That was after the World Cup had happened as well, because French they went on to win it. I'm pretty sure from memory. It's been so much has happened between now and then, but he played really well. and his car's just exploded.
15 times higher than a Zion. What's going on there?
And they've come back down since then a lot. Since he had a few, he didn't play so well at the Euros and things like that, but he's still up there quite high. But you've got a guy like Erling Haaland, who's Belgian national team. His cards have been selling at pristine auctions and PWCC and all those sort of golden for $50,000, $60,000. Some of his 2018 Chrome low, like numbered to 5, 10 sort of rookie autos.
Yeah.
So the market for soccer's exploded already, and right behind it was Formula One. That just has gone absolutely through the roof.
Soccer makes sense to me because it's a worldwide game, but the motorsports thing to me just seems like so niche. Like it's.
But I think the thing we need to realize is that the Americans have now got into Formula One big time. The Europeans have always been into it, and they were some of the ones that sort of Tops UK were the one that sort of initially produced the Formula One products, and they still do. And it gets distributed across through US as well now. But the Formula One exploded last year in the US, whether it be because a non-British guy was doing well in the championship and the Americans got involved. There's now American ownership in some of the teams. There's American guys racing in it.
Because Jordan has a team now, doesn't he?
He's probably got some. He'd have a finger in the pie somewhere there. But there's an American owner of at least one of the teams now, if not more. A lot of the teams are owned by groups and things, but there's I can't remember his dad's actual name, but Lance Stroll's dad is actually an American guy who runs one of the teams and owns it, and his son races in it. So, and there's more races in the US now. There's Texas, there's Miami next year. There's 2 US races. There's the Mexico Grand Prix. So all of this stuff has just really come to the forefront, and COVID helped too, with people going, basketball's cooked, NFL's cooked, baseball's cooked, soccer's cooked, what's next? And a lot of people jumped into Formula One and really sort of pushed it through the roof.
Look, I completely understand where like people are coming from with that, and to be honest, I get that a lot in terms of why people are sort of not jumping into brakes anymore. They're literally just saying it's just 5 times more expensive than I'd want to be paying. So what you're saying makes like 100% sense. Yeah,
they look for something to get into, and then because there's momentum behind it, it explodes too, and then before you know it, you're gonna have to get into a break of garbage pail kids just to be able to get into something. And
G.I. Joe.
Well, we can't get into the G.I. Joe market now. That's already exploded.
It's blown up.
Yeah.
My Little Pony, maybe.
That's it.
Did you want to ask us any questions, mate?
No, not off the top of my head. I've probably waffled on for long enough for you guys.
No,
so.
Not at all.
As I said beforehand, I can talk for hours about this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's been very enjoyable. Yeah,
we do a lot of that. Now, have we touched on eBay's new mandatory authentication? Yeah. This is a big one. I've seen it during the week, and it was brought to my attention by a non-sports person, because the first article I read was Pokemon cards and other collectors, like other collectible cards. So at the forefront was people getting their Pokemon cards authenticated. We know where that stems from, of course, but the person that reached out to me was actually like a Magic the Gathering collector and a store owner that sort of like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, I don't understand how it works. We win an auction, and then the seller needs to send the card off for authentication prior to being sent to the winning bidder.
Is it elective, or you have to do that?
Mandatory. So if a card is valued currently, card is valued above $750.
Right. Okay.
It must be authenticated.
Okay. Yep. No, that's fine. I was just for a second. No, I was thinking like every card had to be done. I see that.
No, so the plan moving forward is for it to be $250 by mid 2022.
And interestingly, it's been I was just reading an article too. They're saying that it's going to also include graded, autograph, and patch cards sold for $250. Now, my curiosity there is, why would you authenticate an already graded card?
Yes.
What I get for some of the more obscure grading companies that might be out there that could do with a second level of review, but like, why would you send a PSA card to CSG to actually grade to authenticate it?
Yeah.
It's like sending it, an Apple iPhone to Nokia to to
That's
tell
it.
them what it is.
It's it makes
I
no
don't
sense.
know.
I provide some additional. I don't think. I think there's some grey on what's going to happen with graded cards. I think graded cards.
So initially, it wasn't included.
Well, because they've got an identification number. There's ways to track the authenticity of the card.
Yeah, to make sure it's not a faked slab. That makes sense, right? To be able to check that the slab's not a fake slab and all that sort of thing. That's fine. That makes sense. And if that's the intent, then great. And this is not new for eBay or many other marketplaces. So StockX do this sort of thing and have done for years with sneakers. eBay's been doing it with sneakers for the last 18 months or something like that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Because that market in itself is more rife for some of that. Forgery and remakes and different versions of things, and it's hard to tell sometimes the original versus the remake version. So that has already been sort of done in those areas, and I think with some of these items it will be good to see how it goes, because there is that, sometimes you buy a card and you're thinking to yourself, oh, did I get the right thing, or are they going to send me something dodgy? And having that intermediary will actually, I think, provide that extra confidence when buying high-end cards, because I'm not going to lie, I do not sell cards at a certain price level on eBay. Like, I would say my limit is probably a couple of $1,000 or whatever. No more than 5,000 if I ever get a decent enough card that can be sold for 5,000, because I can insure that through, if I'm within Australia, sending it through Australia Post, I can insure it for up to $5,000. Yeah. Internationally, it becomes a bit more tricky. So I would, personally, I send higher end cards off to auction houses in the US where it goes to them. They manage everything, and then they can collect the payment and so forth, because they've got registered buyers and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This, therefore, I think is their, eBay's attempt to sort of rein in some of that business that's going elsewhere. There's no denying the fact that PWCC is their biggest competitor right now, and may very well trump them as the future marketplace for sports cards. If people, really sort of build that momentum, because they will have the accessibility and they have the ability to send the cards in. They're all held at PWCC. They're there. If you buy the card, you're getting the card. So eBay is obviously working now to try and pull in some of that business back from these other companies that are taking it away from them. Because I know eBay is hurting in that regard in some ways, in terms of business lost to other platforms. It's just inevitable, right? These platforms have appeared and they're starting to list 10, 20,000 cards a month. That's not on their platform anymore. Golden listing many, many cards a month. That's not on their platform.
Yeah.
So, Golden once upon a time didn't really take in a lot of the raw cards or cards worth less than a certain value. They do take in more of that now, and so do a lot of the other auction houses. So, yeah, I think
interesting.
It could be quite good for the hobby. It will hopefully weed out some of the scammy deals that happen and people getting ripped off, particularly when it gets down to the $250 mark. How much it adds to the process in terms of time, that's the key thing, because a lot of people don't want to buy a card or sell a card on eBay and have to wait 6 weeks to get their money.
Definitely
or get their card.
Well, they say in this article I'm reading, it's a 7 to 10 day process in addition to its normal.
Yeah, that's what it says. We've seen what PSA used to take.
We've seen what Australia Post had. What happened to Australia Post before Christmas?
Yeah,
so,
and that's the thing. Exactly right. How does this work? Like, if I sell a card on eBay, I've got to send it to someone. Like, where do I? If I'm in Australia, are they going to have someone are they going to have CSG in Australia, or do I have to send it to the US? Does it only apply to US-based marketplaces? I think there's a few things that still need to come out on that. But it could be good, but it could also cause a few headaches for a few people, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. It feels like we're in one of these times now where, things are definitely, I don't know, evolving. Evolving is probably the word I'd stick with.
Yeah, and I think you sort of said at the start jokingly about regulating the market, and it's never going to happen, right? But the best thing that can happen to the market is finding ways to make it better for people by having these trusted processes in place where we can kind of put gates in the way of people who want to rip people off or who want to do things. It doesn't stop people paying more for a card or overpaying or getting having a card sold that's gets returned to them or whatever.
Yep.
But it does mean that these cards that do go through are actually going to get some level of, second eyes on them. And it's not so much regulation, it's just confidence and trust and transparency, I guess, in some ways that is being brought into the whole buying and selling process on eBay.
Yeah. Yep. And look, that's got to be good for the hobby, right?
Yeah, look, honestly, if the cleaner we can make it, and make sure that people can still have fun, still do things they want to do, still invest, still flip, still buy for collections, still all those things that are part of the hobby that make it, we need all of those elements. We can't just say, it's a hobby, you collect, you don't flip, right? I will openly admit from day dot, I've done all elements of it. I've invested, I've collected, I've flipped, because that's how you stay in the hobby. You might invest in something that you're going to sell in 12 months because you know it might go up, or you think it might go up. You sell it, you buy more cards. You flip something, like you bust a box, you grade it, you sell a PSA 10, you make some money on it. You most likely put that money back in. There's people who don't put it back in, they go and put it in something else, but it's all part of that whole collectible economy, whether it be, they might then go buy crypto, they might buy sneakers, they might buy NFTs, whatever it is they're passionate about, that money goes somewhere. Somebody, it's part of an economy, right? It's just how it is. But
spot on. Yeah.
We've got to do what we're comfortable doing, and if you don't like flipping, don't do it. But I don't hold it against people. If they buy a card from me.
Well, it's a supply-demand economy, right? Yeah. Like, this is what the hobby is.
It's collectibles, right, in general. That's what it is.
Correct.
If it wasn't demand, there wouldn't be a market for collectibles. You'd go and buy your Hot Wheels for $1 each, and that'd be it.
And that's it.
You wouldn't be able to sell them for $20, $30, $50, $100,000 or whatever.
No, you sell them for $1, or you get,
buy them for $1, you sell them for $1. We live in a capitalist world, and that's just how economies in general work. So
now, if a lot of people want that same Hot Wheels one, someone will be paying $1.50 for it, and all of a sudden,
or if someone wants that toilet paper at the moment, they pay more.
Oh no, not again!
Or that rapid antigen test,
Oh yes,
yeah, well, that's what's been flipped at the moment, is it the rat test?
Yeah, they're like there's stuff like that there's. It's taking advantage of people's goodwill, and it does happen a little bit in the hobby. But at the end of the day, we're talking about cardboard. If somebody's flipping it for money and somebody's willing to pay the money, so be it. If you're taking advantage of a new guy, that's not so nice. And I'd like to think you feel bad about yourself, but not everybody does. Some people don't. So yeah, everybody's different.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, we've all sold to flippers too, so it's not we've never benefited from this, playing out.
My biggest one to date is I sold a Trae Young NT RPA that I hit in a break.
Okay.
And I was so excited. I was absolutely over the moon. It was worth a few thousand, maybe 5,000 US at the time. And I ended up getting to the point where I sold it probably at the lowest point of his pricing, because I just needed to get rid of it. I'd had it for a while. I just wanted to return some money back in that I spent. So I thought I'll sell this. It had a soft corner on it. It wasn't going to grade well. And 6 months later, it appeared sold on eBay as a PSA 1010 for like $36,000.
Oh God!
I was pre the boom, but somebody had done something with it. It was the same card. It hadn't been returned to Panini for replacement because the patch and the signature were identical. But somebody had bought this card and somehow restored it. That's about the only way I can put it. The bottom corner was damaged, and the damage was no longer there, but it hadn't been trimmed. So still to this day, I don't know what they did. They used wizardry and magic to turn this card back into a PSA 10.
Wow.
And I've seen a few things like that happen.
There was the Wagner card recently that had been restored. Maybe they invested into someone to actually physically restore it. That
honestly, there must have been something like that done, because the corner that had been rounded was now sharp as a tack. And I don't know how you get. You must have some sort of like Mona Lisa level art restorer.
There's people out there that you could. Yeah, I suppose maybe that was their lane, that they were buying stuff and then
maybe
getting someone to fix it and then grade it and sell it.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, we've sold to them. I've bought stuff from people and graded and sold for a profit. I'm not going to deny that any day of the week. And then I've got stuff sitting in my collection that I've had for years and years and years that won't go anywhere. So yeah, it's part of what we do. A lot of us, I think. And honestly,
do you remember what you bought with that money after you sold the tray?
After I sold the tray, I think I at least spent some of it on buying a Devin Booker. No, actually, tell a lie. I know what one of them I bought was a LeBron James Ultimate Signatures. Actually, I bought it from a guy here in Australia.
Beautiful.
I paid a ridiculously low amount in today's money for it, but at the time it was a little bit over market value. And was lucky enough to get it graded a BGS 9.5, which is the only one in its existence for that set, because they didn't come out in the greatest condition from the box. It was sort of 2007, 08, I think, Ultimate collection. So by then, the QC on Upper Deck cards were pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
Towards the end of their contracts, most of them they were getting quite bad. That last year of Exquisite was horrendous. So yeah, I definitely remember buying that. That's still here in my collection. It's one of the nicest cards. I think the on card LeBron James auto BGS 9.5. I don't think I'm going to get rid of that one anytime soon. Probably maybe one day eventually, if I ever get over card collecting, I'll sell it off and use the money to send my kids to school or something. Because that costs too much these days.
Yeah, it's I just can't fathom a bunch of it. It's what some cards are sort of worth these days. It's
yeah, and I've learned the hard way. Honestly, I've collected stupid things over time. I had one of the world's biggest Josh Jackson PCs for a long time. I had 1-of-1s. I had to 5 patch auto booklets from Opulence. I had all sorts going on, and paid stupid amounts of money for things like rookie silhouettes from Crown Royale that are worth probably $25, a prime silhouette or something now. I paid hundreds of dollars for it because I just wanted it at the time.
So where were you the day that he got arrested at that music festival?
I think I was probably just out, doing something, and one of my mates who's a Suns collector as well sent me a message and goes, "Did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "What?" And then and then it was like, I don't know, he was high and he had his daughter with him or something. I'm like, oh god, this is going downhill real quick.
It's not
really fast.
No.
So that one went to the back of the cupboard, but then he sort of, did whatever time he had to do in terms of being out of the league and working his way back in. And
he's got himself back together, to be fair.
He's a fairly decent role player now, and he's had some good games. But we've all made our mistakes in collecting over the years, and I've got plenty of weird PCs of guys like Tyler Eulis and Devon Reed. He appeared the other day again and I was like, quick, I should have got his stuff up on eBay because people might have bought it when he was defending LeBron James. I can't remember who he was playing for even. It might have been, wasn't the Kings or someone? I don't know.
There's so many there's so many blasts from the past at the moment. Like
this year's been good for that.
Greg Monroe was back the other week. I'm like, what is happening?
I was just stoked seeing Joe Johnson and Lance Stevenson get another run.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lance Stevenson.
And Lance, he's still playing all right.
He is
all right. Still getting in, doing a lot better than me, and I'm not that far off. I'm probably a little bit older than him, but he's still out there banging heads with the best of them. So
he didn't give up though. He'd been playing in the G League the whole time, and
and he'd been to China, I think, at one point. So but it wasn't for him. I think he came back pretty quickly. But
Did you want to plug anything before we tie off?
I guess some good news coming out today is that we've just opened up the under 1,000 US submissions again for PSA. So we got some word last week that it was coming to us. I just had to work through a couple of things on my end, but we're able to send off 100 a week at the moment, and cut-offs every Friday. So if you're interested, the details are all up in our PSA Submissions Australia Facebook group. So that's the name to look for, PSA Submissions Australia. I can't even get it out of my mouth properly. And if you join that group, if you haven't already been into it before, the details are all up in there. There's a post there, new submission form. The intent is maximum of 10 cards per person at the moment. If we get 50 people send 10 cards, we'll have a queue of 500, and it'll be first in, best dressed. And we'll just run through that queue for the next 5 weeks, and probably just tell people to hold off till we can get closer to that 5 weeks expiring, or they open up more to us, or whatever it is. So we're pretty happy with that. It's actually also cheaper than it was last time we had an under 1,000 category. So it's now $90. It used to be, I think last time we had it was 120 or 125. But it's realistically what it is actually the under 500 category now moving up to the under 1,000. So they've kind of moved their category levels up and down a bit. So the last one they moved was the 1,000 category went to 1,500. That opened up last month for us. Now the under 1,000 categories opened up, which is for all intents and purposes the old 500. And my gut feel is that probably within 3 or 4 months, we should hopefully see, when they get through most of the backlog from last year, under 500s and 100s, we'll start to see the under 500s open up again, which will I guess for the time being, I assume, I don't know anything, but might change, replace the under 100 or under 200 category, depending on what you're looking at. So yeah, I think that's because that's essentially what they'd done by March last year. There was no under 100 or 200 category. Long term, Nat Turner's come out and said he does want to see cheap grading come back.
Do you think that will come back?
It may be this under 500 category. I don't know. I don't know how cheap it will be, but I would expect that he's looking at.
He did say 15 US was what he was hoping for.
Yeah, somewhere around 10 to 15 US a card. So,
do you think that's like viable, or do you think people should keep waiting for that, or because
I think
I'm not going to lie to you, I'm waiting for it. Yeah,
I think it'll come back because he's even said himself he wants people to be able to get their PC stuff in there as well. But he also understands that there's people out there who have a lot of money already invested in cards that are still at PSA, and he wants, once they come back, there's people to be able to reinvest in sending cards back to PSA as well. So he wants to keep that whole process moving, which is good. So it means that I guess that pricing point for whatever that is, it might start a bit higher, but long term, once they get a full sort of control over all the cards coming through, they get their throughput, and they understand what they can actually manage, literally on a day-to-day basis in terms of card throughput, then I expect that they'll start to look at price reductions where feasible to get something back one day that is in that level. So yeah, look, it could be a while though still, I'm not sure. I've always kind of said to people that I don't expect personally them to be anywhere near being able to offer anything like that until mid-year 2022, assuming they can get through their current backlog.
Yeah.
They seem roughly on track to do that, but that's, me just sort of guessing based on reading the tea leaves of how far they've got versus how far they've got to go, versus not then allowing themselves to see the floodgates wide open again.
Yeah. Now, I suppose for someone that does remember a long time ago, it costing $25.
Some days, yeah.
What's on average, if I've got what are the price points? What am I expecting to pay when I give you? Because I don't think many people have got them. I found one of these Luka Doncic Prism base cards.
Yep.
Nobody's got any of these graded, I reckon. Nobody. Haven't seen any lying around at all.
I'll never see them.
But if I've got a Luka lying around, I've got to take them. I just randomly find, I don't know, a silver Prism of a rookie that's and I say, and looking at recent sales and say 9s and 10s are just under that $1,000. What am I looking at when the grade comes back, cost wise?
So right now under 1,000 is 90 Australian.
Yep.
That's the fee that we're charging for this month going forward.
Yep.
And that's based on the fee we get charged by PSA. Plus, we have to.
If it comes back as a 10, it's still going to be $90.
So if it's close to, let's say it's currently sitting at $900 US.
Yep.
Raw, whatever card it might be. If it gets a 10, and at the time when it comes back, it's actually now worth $1,400 US. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this whole 1,000 to 1,500 bracket. It's a lot easier when you talk about, say, 500 to 1,000 brackets.
Yeah.
But say it comes back at 1,400, or it comes back, even if it comes, let's say it's 2,000. 2,000 is an easier one to work with. It doubles in value, say. Then you will 99% of the time be charged at, and you'll get an upcharge to that value that represents what it fits under. So if it's now worth $2,000, it'll go into the under 2,500 category.
Okay.
So the under 2,500 category is $250. So you're now going from $90 to $250 on your grading fee. But to date,
the card would be worth.
Exactly right. I've had very little pushback when that happens because most people go, well, my card's now worth double what it was, and I'm only having to pay, an extra $160 for that privilege.
So I thought my card was worth $1,000. It's really worth $2,000. They want an extra $160.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've found most people are really good at it. They understand it. They also, when they ask the question beforehand, I can point them to the frequently asked questions post we have, which talks about declared value, what it means. Yeah. Because it does mean that if you think I'm going to get a 10, you need to actually value your declared value as a 10 for two reasons. One, because you won't get an upcharge. Secondly, if that card gets damaged somehow, once it arrives with me, from the time it gets to me to the time it gets back to them, or at least till it leaves me with Australia Post, then they are covered for the insurance declared on their form.
Yeah.
So if they under-declare on their form and say, I'm going to put it in as the raw value because I think it's only going to get a 9 or an 8 or whatever the equivalent is, so be it. We've had a few cards destroyed by PSA. I'm not going to lie. think over the, say we've done 20 or 25,000 cards with them so far, we've probably had about 5 or 6 cards destroyed. And they're usually destroyed because something happens in the machine, the grading machine. Now, if you've never seen these grading machines, it's essentially a giant metal thing that comes down on top of the plastic case and ultrasonically welds it. So there's a lot of things involved in there, and all the card happens is when the guy's doing multiple per hour. He's trying to get through a certain amount. If he accidentally slips in that process when he's putting the card in and doesn't like it, or it slips out of place accidentally slightly because of the way the PSA things are, they can get crimped a little bit. That's 90% of the time it's because it gets a slight crimping on it. But we've only ever had a few of them, thankfully, over the time. But when that does happen, PSA will actually will pay you out based on the declared value on your form. So if your card has increased in value by 20 since you submitted it, you will usually only get the market value or the declared value, whichever is lower. That's part of their terms and conditions. So traditionally, though, we usually get the declared value back. Have done to date. So there's always that sort of component of it. It's not so much just about what grade you think it's going to get. It's what value you are comfortable with your card being worth and getting back as compensation if it was to ever get destroyed, or even if, heaven forbid, we send via FedEx. FedEx flies from the US to Australia with all the parcels. It's on a plane. Planes can occasionally crash.
I've heard this happens on occasion.
Yeah, very, very rarely, let's be honest. It's probably more likely to get destroyed in the truck coming from the airport to the facility or whatever.
This is true.
These are still points of failure that can occur in the process. So if happened, we've seen Australia Post trucks on fire.
Have you seen the videos at the moment of the train jackings that happen? The people are stopping the trains and actually stealing the parcels off there.
It's like Wild West.
It's a thing that's happening in the States at the moment.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So like that's all it takes. We've seen Australia Post trucks go up in flames. It takes a FedEx truck or something like having a major accident.
Yeah,
that's a component we can't control. Yeah, that's why we have insurance to cover it. So if you've declared the value hoping to pay less, and you get a high grade, and even then it comes back as a PSA 10 and gets destroyed somewhere between PSA and us, then unfortunately you're still only going to get the compensation of what you've declared. It's just how we have to operate.
And that's very much, and that is what it is.
Yeah, and we've got all this written on our forms very clearly so people can go and look at it and read it and understand it. Most people don't read terms and conditions, but it's there in black and white for them. So they can actually, and they have to submit a form, and by submitting it, they agree to them. But
I never read them, mate. It's too much,
Terms and conditions. I can't proceed unless I agree. I agree.
yeah. Thankfully, we're not quite like that, but with the website, but it's definitely, everybody has to send a submission form. It's all in there.
Yeah.
Have my lawyer review it too, because once again, I'm a risk-adverse person, so I want to make sure we've got most things lined up well. But it's also to cover the customers as well. So
and that's the thing. Like if it's your card, you want to be doing it the right way, and
I don't want to be sitting here saying to someone the insurance company won't pay out, but you've signed a terms and conditions form that says we will pay you, so I have to pay you out of my own pocket. That's not a good outcome for me either. So
no, not at all.
I'd rather have an angry customer who got $1,000 for his $2,000 card than me having to pay him $2,000 for his card and not get any money back on mine. Like it's just.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's definitely a long way away from that at $25 ago. Grading process it was years ago. And look, let's be real. There's a lot more value in the cards once they're coming back.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's changed a lot since then. So we've just had to grow with it, and thankfully, it's most people have been great and been very patient, and we've had. I'm honestly going to say we've had very little in the way of people complaining about their cards still being there after all this time. Most people are really genuine and honest, and they might be frustrated, and I say to them, look, I share your frustrations. I'm fully with you, and but I will say this openly: all the people. The guys and girls in the Australian hobby who have been involved in grading with us, I'm always very thankful for how respectful they are of that and understand that I have no control over it, and I am just as equally frustrated as them at times with how long things are taking.
Yeah.
But we're not alone. Everybody's dealing with it. Even the biggest submitters in the US are still in the same boat as us.
Yeah.
And coming right back around to what we talked to earlier, we're seeing the companies that did this that can't afford to pay them pay out the fees because of the time frame it's taken. And we're just on this end making sure that we don't end up in a situation so people don't end up with their cards, and we're pretty good at the moment, and we think we've got everything set up so as that won't be a problem for us.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's definitely a new frontier, and it sounds like you're, as far as Australia is concerned, you're definitely at the front of a lot of innovation, which is awesome.
Yeah, I've got something to plug this week, actually, lads. We had I did a personal box with someone, and he hit a LaMelo tag numbered to 5 out of iMac. So
yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah,
that was good. Very nice.
One of our boys actually submitted the video to a YouTube page called IF Sports Cards, and what he does is like a weekly summary of the big cards that gets hit.
Hottest hits of the week. I watched that video this morning. That was
so I mean, look, I couldn't be happier for Luke hitting that card. So there's that part of it. He's just like the nicest guy that you could possibly meet. But I will admit, there was this small part of me that was just like very chuffed to see my little break up on that on that website. So
the way you were carefully like revealing the name. Can someone Google this for me now?
I knew it was big, but I was just like, because on the redemption it never says the number, like is it to 5, is it to 10, to like I don't know if it's a 1 of 1. So that was what I was asking for. But I've been copping a lot of grief about it because all the other American breakers are like, yes, and like there's horns going off in the background and stuff. And I was just sitting there like, oh, congratulations! Like, so I think
it's still not as nonchalant. I think it was the one of the breakers who hit the Zion 1 of 1. It was actually he does it with his son, I think it is, and it was literally like going through the cards. Oh, and it's a Zion. It's black. Oh, it's a 1 of 1. Okay, yeah, it was Zion 1 of 1, and just sort of like puts it off to the sleeves. It puts it off to the side, and
no, I saw that he touched the surface of the card too. He was like touching. I was like, what are you doing? Stop! Yeah.
No, think of the children.
But, look, and here's just a little tidbit that I think something that I'm always interested to see if this ever comes out. As far as I'm aware, unless it is hiding somewhere in someone's collection and they've never mentioned it ever, which I would be very surprised.
Yeah.
The Luka Doncic black 1 of 1 rookie prism is still hiding somewhere.
Interesting.
Still in a box. So the Nebula 1 of 1 from Choice came out.
Yeah.
And that's been splashed all over, Instagram and everything everywhere. But the Luka black 1 of 1, I strongly believe
hasn't made an appearance.
It's never seen a face on social media or anything. Or in like blowout forums, as far as I'm aware. I've never heard of it, being talked about or said that someone knows someone who's got it or anything like that. It could be, I could have just missed it, but as far as I'm aware, that product still has that card sitting somewhere in the limited number of sealed boxes that are floating around, still for that. So when that one comes out, I think that's the last one. Like Trey's out, and a few of the other main players from that year have all been found, but I'll be interested to see if that means it maintains more value than some of the other products as the years go on, because
I'm actually
Jar and Zion are out.
I'm not surprised that it's still in a box, to be honest, because I have this feeling, and I have nothing to support this like at all, but I genuinely think people have been like buying up boxes and cases and putting them away. And I would probably say even go like a step further than that. I actually think like companies and investment firms have been buying them up and putting it away. So like in some ways it kind of makes sense a little bit. Like
there's so much a high probability.
Yeah.
Most of what's that 17, 18 sort of onwards time from Prism, whatever's left is in those big holding sort of collections. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of people, there's a few bits and pieces left around in sort of some stores and that left at sort of pretty high prices. But yeah, for the most part, I think you're right. A lot of that product from, 15, 16 is almost gone, I think, completely anyway. But sort of 16, 17, 17, 18 onwards, they're all hiding somewhere in someone's collection, vault, whatever it might be. Yeah.
We'll be 60 and we'll be seeing when it gets like busted out,
Yeah, it's like those random finds of Fleer, 86 Fleer they find. And someone's doing that. They're just hoping it's the same thing in 20 years, 30 years time.
20 years and spend thousands of dollars to open a pack.
Yep.
I think we're going to split this into 2 parts, mate. We've nearly ticked over 2 hours. So
it's been a long one.
This has been amazing.
It's been awesome.
And look, I've really enjoyed spending time with you, mate. And just thank you so much for, giving us your time, because
not a problem.
Yeah, we're very grateful for it. And just thanks for all your insights that you've given us today and all your stories. It's been fantastic. So,
my pleasure.
Did you want to say anything, Ad?
No, just thanks for hanging out. It was really good. Yeah, I think it's in interesting times ahead in the hobby. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I'm confident that we're not going anywhere with the hobby. There's going to be, you have to pivot and change and do different things as we go along if you want to stay inside it. But that's part of what it is and what makes it fun. And we've got Fanatics on the horizon. It's 2022 now. It's not actually that far away.
No one's spending billions of dollars to go away.
Drop off.
Well, all I'm going to say though is about the Panini stuff is maybe in the last year of the product, buy boxes, because I suspect they're going to dump everything. There's going to be stickers of everything. There's going to be
the fire sale of fire sales.
Yeah, there's going to be patches everywhere. Like your base jerseys are going to be patches or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I think there might be a few products in that year that are just full of it's going to be a lot of stickers in the last few years. I reckon because
everything must go.
But I reckon we're going to find some good patches, maybe some finals patches or all these sorts of things they've got sitting back in the cupboard somewhere that they're just
a few random surprises.
Yeah. So anyway,
I don't reckon, man. I think Panini's still going to make cards for Fanatics.
Yeah, they might possibly do that.
Yeah,
we've seen Topps bought out already. But the
yeah.
difference being that Panini still has, they've moved to WWE, UFC. So I don't know if they'll find a way to sub-license through them. Maybe that's an option.
I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to literally pay them to make cards for them.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Very interesting.
And finally, I was going to say you're going to be at the Hobby Hangout, I believe.
Most certainly am.
In a few weeks. So
I'll be having a chat on stage there at some point or wherever it is we're talking. And we've also got a stall set up with a bunch of our cards for the Hobby Australia. So
sweet.
We've got a few people coming along with us, hopefully. And we've got stacks of singles, some sealed product we're going to have there. Happy to chat to people about grading or whatever it is when I'm not wandering around chatting to other people. So yeah, it should be a really great day. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be sure not to heckle while you're on stage.
That's all right.
I have a habit.
Wouldn't be the first time I've been heckled, so it's all good.
Great. I hope to bump into you on the day, mate, and have a chat. Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a shirt made up or something. And
I'll be out the front with my pickets.
130 shirt or something.
No, your shirt has to say "Regulate the Hobby."
#regulate the hobby.
Yep.
Oh, no.
That's the one. Sounds good. I want to see that.
Oh boy.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much, lads.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
Bye-bye.